Something is about to happen to the stock market that I have not seen in over 40 years of watching this thing, and most people are going to miss it entirely, not because they're not smart enough, not because they don't have access to the information. They're going to miss it because they're looking at the wrong thing. They're watching the headlines, they're watching the talking heads on television, and they're completely ignoring what the market itself is quietly screaming at anyone who bothers to pay attention. I want to talk to you about software stocks. Specifically, I want to talk about what happens when Wall Street makes a giant group bet, holds it for 2 years, makes a lot of money on it, and then suddenly has to run for the exits all at once. Because that is exactly what I think is setting up right now. And if you've ever watched a crowded theater, when someone yells fire, you know it doesn't end quietly. Let me back up and tell you something that happened to me a few years ago. I was at the mall. This was back when I still went to malls, which my family would tell you was never very often. And I noticed that every single store had some kind of software running. Their checkout, their inventory, their loyalty programs, their employee scheduling, the coffee shop, the shoe store, the clothing place my daughter dragged me into. Every single one of them. And I thought to myself, whoever is selling these companies their software, they've got something closer to a utility than a product. Because nobody just rips out their entire back office system because something cheaper showed up. That's not how businesses work. They're too tangled up in whatever they're already using. That observation has stuck with me for years, and it matters a lot right now. Here's what's happened over the last 2 years. The NASDAQ, which is basically a collection of technology companies, went up about 70%. 70%. If you put $10,000 in a simple NASDAQ index fund in early 2024, you'd have about $17,000 sitting there right now. That's a pretty good result. But here's the part that should make your jaw drop. Software companies, the companies that actually write the code that runs most of corporate America, went down about 8% in that same window, down 8% while everything else around them went up 70% the same period. The same market, $10,000 in software stocks turned into $9,000, while your neighbor who just bought the index made $17,000. How does that happen? How does an entire sector of the economy get left behind that badly? The answer is actually pretty simple once you understand it. And understanding it is what's going to tell you what comes next. Wall Street, and I mean the hedge funds, the short sellers, the institutional money that moves billions of dollars around. On any given Tuesday, they made a decision. They decided that artificial intelligence was going to destroy software companies. The logic goes like this. AI can now write code. So why would any company pay for expensive software when AI can? Just build it for them. It sounds scary if you own software stocks. And when that narrative got going, the smart money piled onto one side of the trade. They started what's called shorting, essentially betting that software stocks would go down. And because so many of them did it at once, the stocks actually did go down. And they made their own prediction come true, at least for a while. $24 billion sitting on that one side of the bet. That is an enormous amount of money pointed in one direction. Now, I am not here to argue with you about whether AI is going to change the software business. Of course it is. Everything changes everything eventually. When the interstate highway system got built, people said it would kill the railroads. It hurt the railroads, but you know what? We still have railroads. When ATM machines showed up, people said banks wouldn't need tellers anymore. Banks still have tellers. When Google Docs came out, free, completely free, a perfectly good word processor, people said Microsoft Word was finished, I still have Microsoft Office, my assistant still has Microsoft Office, every company I know still has Microsoft Office, because ripping it out and replacing it is a nightmare nobody wants to deal with. The disruption narrative on software is real in some ways, but the market is already priced in complete catastrophe. And I don't think a complete catastrophe is what's coming. And what I think is coming is a short squeeze. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain it in the simplest possible way. Imagine you borrowed your neighbor's lawnmower and you immediately sold it to someone down the street for $100, betting that you could buy another lawnmower cheaper later and return it to your neighbor and pocket the difference. That's basically what a short seller does with a stock. They borrow it, sell it, hope the price falls, buy it back cheaper, and keep the profit. The problem is if the price goes up instead of down, you still have to buy that lawnmower back to return it to your neighbor. And if lawnmowers are now selling for $200, you're losing money fast. The more the price rises, the more desperate you get to buy it back. And if a lot of people all borrowed lawnmowers and sold them, you get this rush of forced buying all at once that sends the price flying in ways that have nothing to do with how good the lawnmower actually is. That's what happened with Avis, the car rental company, a few years back. The shorts had piled into that stock. The stock started creeping up. Suddenly, everyone who had bet against it had to buy at the same time just to get out, and the stock went up 400% in days, not because car rental became a glamorous business overnight, because of pure mechanical forced buying. People running for the exit at the same time, And the setup I'm seeing in software right now reminds me a lot of that situation. So only much, much larger. There's a software index fund, ticker IGV, that holds about 110 of the biggest software companies. Oracle is in there. Microsoft is in there. Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, the whole crowd. It's been beaten down badly, bounced, pulled back again, and now appears to be finding a floor. I'm not telling you to go buy it tomorrow. I'm not your financial advisor, and I don't know your situation. But what I can tell you is that when I look at the pattern of where the lows are sitting relative to where they were before, things are starting to look a little more interesting than they did 6 months ago. The rubber band, as I like to think about it, has been stretched about as far as I've seen it stretched in years. Before I get into some individual names I've been watching, let me be honest with you about what could go wrong here, because I think you deserve that. If AI really does disrupt enterprise software faster than I expect, if companies really do start canceling licenses and building their own tools at scale, and then some of these beaten down software stocks are not bouncing back, they're value traps. A stock that looks cheap because it's fallen 60% can always fall another 60%. I've seen it happen. I've been fooled by it myself. The short sellers have been right about this trade for 2 years. They're not idiots. They're managing billions of dollars and they've made money on this bet. So this is not a sure thing. Nothing in investing is a sure thing. What I'm describing is a setup, not a guarantee. Now, with that said, let me walk you through 3 companies I've been watching that I think represent different flavors of this opportunity. And I want to explain them to you the way I'd explain them to my son-in-law, who knows nothing about stocks. The first one is Commvault Systems, ticker CVLT. These folks are in the business of protecting data, backing it up, securing it, making sure that when a company gets hit by a cyber attack, and more companies are getting hit by cyber attacks every single year, probably because AI is now helping the hackers too, they can recover. Think about what Commvault actually does from a business standpoint. No chief information officer on the planet is bored and saying, we're cutting cybersecurity spending this quarter. That conversation doesn't happen. You get hacked, you're finished. The liability, the regulatory problems, the reputational damage. So Commvault sits in a category of spending that's about as non-negotiable as it gets. They did over $1 billion in revenue, growing at about 19% a year. And they have enterprise clients spread across pretty much every industry you can name. The stock got dragged down with the rest of software, even though the business case for what they do gets stronger every day. AI makes cyber threats worse. That is the kind of mismatch I spent my whole career looking for. If you're finding this useful and you want to think through more situations like this, go ahead and subscribe. I put out these kinds of breakdowns regularly, and I don't charge you for them. The second company is Expensify, ticker EXFY. And I want to be upfront with you that this one is in a completely different risk category. This is a tiny company. It traded at $50 a share not that long ago, and now it's trading around $1. That alone should make you nervous, and it should. A stock that's fallen 97% from its high is not automatically a bargain. Sometimes it's just a company that's dying. But here's what caught my attention. The people running Expensify recently authorized a buyback of 25 million shares. Management buying back stock with their own company's money is not proof of anything, but it is a signal that they believe the stock is priced below what the business is actually worth. So they wouldn't do that if they thought it was going to zero. They've also integrated AI into their platform in a way that's so interesting. They've essentially let AI assistants connect directly into their expense data, which means instead of fighting the AI wave, they're surfing it. The short interest on the stock is very high, which means a lot of people are betting it goes to zero. If it doesn't go to zero, those people have to buy. And when tiny stocks with high short interest start moving, they can move very fast in ways that look almost absurd from the outside. This is genuinely speculative. I'm not suggesting you bet your retirement on it, but it's worth understanding why it's on the radar. The third name is Mara Holdings, ticker MRA. This one used to be called Marathon Digital. They were primarily a Bitcoin mining company, which is already enough to make a lot of serious investors change the channel. I understand that. But here's what's changed. They're acquiring energy infrastructure. They're building out capacity for AI data centers, specifically through a company called Long Ridge Energy. So what was a pure Bitcoin play is becoming an energy and AI infrastructure play, which is one of the hottest investment themes in the entire market right now. Over a quarter of Mara's tradable shares have sold short, more than 25% of the float. That is an enormous amount of short interest for a company that is actively pivoting into a growth area. If Bitcoin has a good run, or if the AI data center build-out story starts getting more attention, the forced buying on this stock could be dramatic. I want to be clear that Mara has had its share of problems, and this is not a stable, boring, sleep well at night kind of holding. It's a high-risk, high-short interest situation where the squeeze math is interesting, but the underlying story needs to keep developing. Here's something I want you to think about, because I think it matters more than any individual stock pick. The reason most regular investors don't make money in situations like this isn't because they can't identify the opportunity, it's because they can't stay in the trade when it gets uncomfortable. Every one of these three stocks is going to have days, maybe weeks, where they go down. That's just how it works. The short sellers don't give up without a fight. There will be bad news days. There will be days where you're sitting there looking at a loss and everything in your brain is screaming at you to sell. The people who make money on short squeezes are the people who did enough homework on the underlying business to know whether the thesis is still intact on a bad day. If you only bought the stock because you heard about it in a video, you're not going to be able to hold through the rough patches. You need to actually understand what the company does and why it's undervalued. So that when the stock drops 15% in a week, you can look at it and say the business hasn't changed. The short interest is still there. I'm staying. I spent a lot of years at Fidelity watching people do the exact wrong thing at the exact wrong time. They'd sell great companies at the first sign of trouble and then buy them back after they'd already recovered. Effectively, buying high and selling low in slow motion over the course of a year, the companies I looked at most carefully were the ones where the business fundamentals were solid, but the stock had gotten crushed for reasons that had more to do with Wall Street's current obsession than with anything actually wrong with the business itself. A store that's crowded with shoppers but has a stock that nobody wants. That's where the money gets made. Commvault is full of shoppers right now, and so is the whole software sector. In a sense, people are still buying the product. The stock just hasn't caught up. If you want to go deeper on any of this, the mechanics of short squeezes, how to read positioning data, how to think about when to get out, I'd encourage you to go check out some of the other material I've put together. There's a link somewhere near this video that'll take you to more resources. Take advantage of it if this stuff is clicking for you. Let me leave you with one more thing, because I think the biggest mistake I see people making right now is a philosophical one, not a tactical one. There's a belief that's been handed down through generations of investing advice that says buy a good company and hold it forever. I said that myself for years, and in many contexts, I still believe it. The S&P 500 as a whole, sure, buy it and hold it forever. That's probably fine for most people. But when you start picking individual sectors, individual themes, individual stocks, you've already stopped being a passive investor. You're making active decisions, and if you're making active decisions, you need to be paying attention to where the money is flowing, not just whether the company you own is theoretically a good business. Nokia was a great business. BlackBerry was a great business. Cisco at its peak was the most exciting technology company on earth. The money went in and the money came out. And if you were married to any of those positions, the way a buy-fold investor would be, you gave back everything and then some. The setup in software right now is about a rubber band that's been stretched as far as it's going to stretch. I can't tell you exactly when it snaps back. Nobody can. But $24 billion in short positions don't unwind quietly. When they unwind, they tend to unwind fast, and they take a lot of people by surprise. The theater's very crowded on one side right now, and I've been in enough crowded theaters over the last 4 decades to know that when people start moving toward the exit, it doesn't stay orderly for long. The most important thing you can do is understand what you own, understand why you own it, and understand what would have to happen to make you wrong. Do that, and you've already separated yourself from the vast majority of people who are going to watch this sector move and wonder how they missed it again. I started this conversation by telling you something unthinkable is about to happen. What's unthinkable is not that software stocks go up. What's unthinkable is that an entire sector of the economy, the one that runs the inventory systems, the payroll systems, the customer databases, the cybersecurity infrastructure of basically every business on the planet, was quietly priced for extinction, while the rest of the market partied. That's the unthinkable part. And those situations, in my experience, never last as long as the people creating them think they will.